Hi there. I'm Joe Morrison, founder and CEO of Razor Sharp Consulting and creator of the Donor Finder System. Welcome to the third of a 9-part video series that will take you through the process of creating a donor funnel, which is a step-by-step system that will help you attract, engage, and convert prospects into donors. Today we're going to look at your magic donor magnet. This is step 3 in your process and the final step in attracting donors to your cause. Everything that follows will be related to engaging and converting your prospects. You absolutely need to create a donor magnet. That's the first part of the funnel to attract donors to your organization. A donor magnet is that one thing that makes you irresistible. It's sort of the hook that gets your donors started on the engagement journey. A donor magnet is simply an irresistible but very ethical bribe, for a lack of a better word, offering a specific chunk of value to a prospect in exchange for their contact information. That's as simple as I can make it. The goal of the donor magnet is to maximize the number of targeted leads or prospects that you're getting for that offer. In a moment, we're going to look at several different types of donor magnets so that you can see exactly what they look like. Most people, however, begin by asking the wrong questions about generating prospects. And that question is, what's the magic pill or the silver bullet that will bring me prospects? And the answer is, hold your breath, there is none. There is no silver bullet that will work for everyone in every different circumstance. There is just as many magnets as there are ideas. So before you begin, you must understand the single most important element of a successful donor magnet: specificity. Now, I have great news for you. Donor magnets don't have to be lengthy or complex or time-intensive to create. In fact, a long and complex donor magnet will likely convert very poorly. You simply need to solve a specific problem with a specific solution for a specific segment of your market. And here's the key. Your donor magnet has to be consumed by the prospect for it to have impact. The perfect donor magnet will offer tremendous value within 5 minutes of the person providing you their email address. Now, that's a rule of thumb, of course, but I don't recommend, for example, a mini course delivered over 14 days or a 300-page ebook as a donor magnet. Those types of donor magnets take way too long to consume and are unlikely to be specific. If you look at this image, you can decide what kind of donor magnet that you need to create. I've adapted this tool from Aaron Fletcher, who is an online marketing genius. It's a tool that I call the Donor Magnet High Impact Matrix. And yes, it sounds nerdy, but I'm a nerd, so it's okay. But all it really says is that we make mistakes by offering things like ebooks, webinars, and other hard to prepare and hard to consume items. I've also updated the form from some of my earlier marketing or training videos, so be sure you have the most recent version moving forward. Online marketers have proven that certain things have high conversion rates and certain things have low conversion rates. And likewise, some of these things are hard to consume while others are easy to consume. What you need to do is create a donor magnet that falls into the upper right quadrant of this matrix, something that's highly desirable and easy to digest, like a guide or a survey that pulls at the heartstrings and makes an emotional connection. Offer that to your prospects in exchange for getting their email, and that allows you to follow up with them and convert them to donors. And too many of us are offering the wrong thing, if we offer anything at all, and wonder why people don't engage with us or engage at a very low level. You have to give the people what they want, or else you'll never get far on this online world. You also have to offer something that's important. I use something called the IMPACT model, which is an acronym that starts with an I, standing for important in this case, meaning that it relieves a pain or a frustration of the donor. but it only relieves one pain. It's not going to say, hey, here's everything we do to solve the world's problems. Thank you, goodbye. It has to say, I showed you how we solve one pain that you have, but it's part of a bigger system. I'm going to look at each letter that makes up the word impact in a moment and tell you why each part is important. But before I do that, let me give you another perspective on a donor magnet for a moment. Look at this ad that I placed on Facebook, which is probably what brought you here in the first place. I want you to look at this ad and tell me why you think it works so well. Many of you got into my world through this very ad or a similar donor funnel template ad. Well, the reason why this ad works so well is because if you're a nonprofit or a fundraiser, it opens up a psychological loop. It's an email cheat sheet, and it literally walks you through the 5 or 6 things that you can do right away to get more results from your existing emails, how to include engagement tools and conversion tools right in your emails. And then I stretch the gap. As soon as people come here and they opt in, I say, hey, do you want the email cheat sheet and get 2 or 3 times more prospects? Then on the thank you page, what do? I walk them through the cheat sheet, but then I stretch the gap, folks. You have to have this thank you page to stretch the gap, meaning you walk them through your cheat sheet or donor magnet by way of video. And then you say, but this is only one part of a bigger system. And you leave them wanting that next part. That's stretching the gap. The donor magnet framework helps you kind of figure it all out. It's really your donor magnet that takes you from being, I really can't come up with another word, but repulsive in a lot of ways, because you're not attracting people, you're repulsing them. Where you're saying, hey, read this book, go watch this lengthy documentary, where they don't really want what you have to offer, even if it's valuable, because they don't know you yet and they've not become engaged with you. And it takes you from that point to being irresistible, where they see the ad and they can't resist clicking it. And what's important with your donor magnet is that you show impact, which again is why I chose that acronym to help you remember what the donor magnet should do. As I discuss each of these areas in turn, I want you to write down how your donor magnet will fulfill each of the criteria, okay? In other words, write some statements, write some words that talk about that particular item. Your donor magnet, which is a free, easy-to-consume giveaway, which is only provided once a person gives you their email, needs to be important. That is, it relieves one pain or frustration of your donor. When something's important to you, you think about that thing a lot. It goes to the top of your to-do list. You make time for it. You get to know all about that thing. So go back to your perfect donor profile and figure out what might be important to your donor. What can you provide that might relieve a pain or a frustration information? Or what can you provide that might highlight a passion or a dream that they have? That thing might be a good donor magnet. It also needs to be moving. That is, it makes an emotional connection with your donor. If it's not moving, even if it's important, it probably won't be consumed, and you'll be back at square one. Pull on those heartstrings. Get sappy if you have to. Make them feel guilty or cry even. Whatever you need to do to inject passion and emotion into your magnet, do it. It will be well worth it, believe me. It also must be proven. It has to demonstrate that you get results. We talked a lot about results in the Mission Activator session. Draw on the information that you created there and include it here. Show how you transform people or situations and make them better. And be specific. Highlight one person or situation in your magnet, not 3 or 5 or 10. One and only one. By showing how you achieve results with one person, you will speak to your potential donors on a very personal, individualized level. Next, your donor magnet needs to be actionable and clearly provide next steps. This is so important, I can't emphasize it enough. Donors need to be sort of led by the hand down a path that you have chosen for them. If you don't show the way, they're going to be lost, and they're going to be stuck where they are, which means they'll never get to the donation part of the plan because you've stretched the gap and have not provided everything to your prospective donors at once. Be sure to tell them what the next step is and how they can bridge the gap that you've created here. It could be it could well be that they need to watch another video, or perhaps they need to complete a survey, or maybe just click the like button on Facebook. Whatever the next step is, don't leave your prospect in the dark. Tell them. Repeat it. Make sure they understand how important it is to your clients and to themselves that they take the next step. It can't be solved alone. Your donor magnet has to answer this question. And this is an often overlooked part of the donor magnet. You need to show your prospective donor that in order to solve the problem at hand, whatever it may be, you're going to need additional resources. In other words, money. To install a new well, we need 10 donors to give $25. To save 100 kittens, we need 5 more people to adopt a pet. The more specific you can get in your donor magnet, the clearer path your donor will have to follow. In other words, if you tell your prospect that you need $10 million to solve your problem and you're asking her for only $100, she'll do the math and she'll realize that you're going to have to get 100,000 donors to reach that goal. And that might just be unrealistic. A better way to go is to break your project into smaller, bite-sized pieces and then sell those pieces. People have to feel that whatever you're asking them for, it's reasonable that if they get it to you, you'll be successful. And this makes them an immediate part of the solution. And finally, your donor magnet needs to be time friendly. That is, it can be easily consumed. If you provide your prospective donor with an item that is so complex and boring that it takes a PhD or days or weeks to get through it, you'll lose your prospect right then and there. You've got to write it down or bring it down or whittle it down, if you will, to the least common denominator. That is, you have to make it very, very simple. Your prospect should be able to consume it within 5 minutes. That's why simple, client-focused, emotional stories, cheat sheets, infographics that pull at the heartstrings work so well. They're quick and easy to consume. Just make sure they meet the rest of the criteria that we've covered too, so that they're impactful. So let's look at some donor magnet or lead magnet examples that do it right. These are the people and organizations that have gone before us and have blazed the trail. The pioneers, if you will, that have forged the elements to show that it can be done. Many of these examples are from the business world rather than from the nonprofit sector, and that's because the nonprofit sector really hasn't caught up with the business world yet and are basically not using donor magnets yet or lead magnets yet. So there are really a few examples to draw from, but I was able to find a few both from the business and nonprofit worlds that demonstrate my points. The first is a guide or a report. Reports and guides are among the most common types of donor magnets. If you use this type of donor magnet, be careful. You could easily violate the specificity rule with this kind of magnet. A guide or report can go off in so many different directions, so be sure that it's a focused guide or a focused report on one topic, dealing with one problem. And this is an example of a donor magnet from one of my clients who uses it extremely well. You get the top 12 fruits or vegetables to only eat organic as a way of combating or preventing cancer. And it meets all the criteria we mentioned under our IMPACT acronym. And you get it free simply by providing your email address. The important thing to note about this guide is that it's not lengthy. It's not some annual report that covers all kinds of topics, but it's a simple, short listing of the 12 foods that you should eat, along with their descriptions and the benefits to help prevent cancer. And it's a one-step process in a multi-step process for fighting cancer. At the moment, by the way, this particular magnet is drawing roughly 10,000 prospects a week. 10,000 prospects a week. And that's a pretty effective magnet, if you ask me. The next type of donor magnet is a cheat sheet or a handout. This one from Power Sponsorships simply defines the marketing terms that you need to know if you're pursuing a sponsorship from a company. So many nonprofits rely on sponsorships for funding, but few do it extremely well, and even fewer invest the time to understand what it is they're selling. This white paper teaches you how to do that. It's a great example of a cheat sheet. So think to yourself, is there something that you can teach others how to do? Create a cheat sheet for it, and you'll likely have a good donor magnet. Next is a quiz or a survey. I love the idea of a quiz or a survey as a donor magnet because it's easy to set up and it's easy to deliver, and it provides value to your donor, provides you with great information about your donor, and begins immediately engaging them in your work. It's like a 1-2 punch. A quiz or a survey, the results of which are delivered via email, is a very engaging way to generate new prospects. You can use a quiz building tool like Interact, which you can find at tryinteract.com, to create these kinds of quizzes. And there are other places, I'm sure. Now, this is what the survey offer looks like on the home page of a home improvement company. Then, once all the quiz questions are answered, the prospect is presented with this opt-in form. Simple, straightforward, effective. And you can learn a lot from this particular one. So if you'd like to use a quiz or a survey, I would encourage you to do so. Another version of the survey or quiz is an assessment or a test. An assessment or test, particularly if it's delivered online to increase the speed of consumption and gratification, of course, can make a very powerful magnet. HubSpot has been generating leads with their marketing grader for years. Is there something you could assess in your prospective donor? Perhaps whether they'd make a good parent for an adopted pet, or maybe whether they have a high risk of being in a relationship where domestic violence is prevalent, or perhaps even if they could perform better than a fifth grader in some form of STEM education. An assessment or a test is a great way to gather information about your donor and really engage them in the emotion or the fun of your work. And you really can't go wrong with this type of donor magnet. So many nonprofits sell products, t-shirts, mugs, coasters, coffee, you name it, and I've probably seen it being sold by a nonprofit somewhere. Now, products in and of themselves are a great income source. Think about Girl Scout cookies. Now it's really a multi-million-dollar revenue stream for them. The Boy Scouts followed suit a few years ago and started selling popcorns. Products can be a great revenue source, no doubt. But selling products outright and offering those products as a donor magnet are two different things. If you're not involved in product sales or of some sort and you want to be involved in those things, go right ahead and see how much money that you can raise. But don't think that these products and services is what's really going to attract your highest level donors to your cause. I can almost assure you that it probably won't. Now, although offering brochures and products do work on a limited scale, they don't necessarily attract the highest quality donors because there's very little engagement on their part. If I buy a Save the Whales mug from a nonprofit organization, it's no different than buying one from Disney World. That is, I've made no emotional connection with the supplier of the mug. Does that make sense? Offering promotional products and materials may seem like a good idea to attract potential donors, but it rarely produces the kind of donor that you're probably looking for. I often tell my clients simply to sell the products using traditional marketing methods and make money that way rather than giving away the product in exchange for an email. You'll probably make more money if you do it that way anyway. Now, if you can tie in an emotional component to the product, you can stretch the gap, showing people what the next step is, then by all means, use the products that you might already have in place. A tool or a resource list can make a great donor magnet for the right nonprofit and the right market. This particular organization offers their time management toolkit in exchange for contact information. And although toolkits and resource lists do work, they attract a different type of person than does a survey or a test, for example. This kind of donor magnet might be better used if you're trying to attract clients rather than donors. So once again, be sure you know who you want to attract and then craft an offer that's right for them. In other words, use the right tool for the right job. Discounts and free shipping, especially if you're selling products, are a pretty effective way of getting people to give you their email address. Everyone likes a deal, and since anyone who is selling anything is competing really with Amazon, free shipping is almost a must. Here's how the Newegg organization generates new leads using an offer of promo codes to sell the prospects or to send to the prospect's email inbox. You get great deals and savings just by subscribing. Unfortunately, discounts and free shipping don't attract high-quality donors if you refer back to the donor impact matrix. You won't really know which type of donor magnets produce what type of results unless you experiment a little. If this type of donor magnet fits into what you're offering, then by all means use it, but test it. Compare it with other magnets that you might create. There's no one single way to do this stuff, and get creative and see what works. If it makes sense and you have the skill sets, video can be a very effective way to deliver on your donor magnet. Marketo is using a video tool demo as a magnet to entice people to try out their tool. Notice that the video is only 4 minutes long, right within the 5-minute time frame that I've already given you. I also have a client who offers a video training for health professionals. It's a paid course that usually takes several weeks to complete. However, they also offer a scaled down version of that course for lay people. And by doing so, they're able to get a large number of signups who can then be presented with other courses that they offer that the subscriber may not have known that they had. And it's a brilliant idea. And using the power of video takes it to a whole nother level. Highly personalized, highly effective. The key here, however, is to keep this video short and focused. And when you do this, this kind of magnet can be very, very powerful. So now that you've given some thought to the type of donor magnet you want, I want you to think about 3 potential titles for the ad that will promote the magnet. Remember, success here lies in specificity, speaking to one donor with one problem that you have made significant progress in combating, but that can't be totally solved without their help. Say something like, we provide specific results to that your donor cares about. Learn how, free download. Okay, now we're going to deal more with ad creation in a later video, so don't spend forever trying to think of a good title. Just give yourself a head start now and jot down some title ideas. And I want you to list 3 transformations that you make in clients as well. At first, you might think this is a tough assignment, but it really isn't. You've already done most of the work. Think back for a moment to the 3 unique steps that you use to move clients through your program. Then, just craft each step into a transformation statement and write them down. We help people prevent, cope with, and beat cancer. Our first transformation statement might be, people live long and healthy lives by preventing cancer from taking hold in their bodies. The second might be, cancer victims stay calm and positive with tools that combat overwhelm and distress. And then finally, people learn techniques that can help them beat cancer. Whatever your 3 steps, they can be crafted into transformation statements. And so do that now or do that shortly after this video. And when time comes, it's going to be a whole lot easier to start knocking out these ads and putting together your promotional pieces. Next is a guide for you to use in creating your donor magnet. It's sort of a checklist providing you with the things to remember and the tools to use and the best practices. Now, there's nothing really to fill out here, but it makes a great reference tool in case you get stuck. As a reminder, your donor magnet will serve as your primary tool for generating new subscribers and new prospects. By definition, then, this piece of content should be highly relevant and valuable to your donor while still easy to consume and advance the conversation. That is, move them toward donating. If your donor magnet attracts people and gets new subscribers but doesn't advance the conversation or have them wanting more, it's not going to be effective. It's going to be less effective when it comes time to convert them to donors. Okay, so now it's really time to pull everything together. What that means is that you need to get a bit creative. You need to get thinking. So go put your thinking caps on. I've given you all the tools and the examples that you need to create your own donor magnet. Hopefully I've spurred some specific ideas that you can use yourself or modify for your own purposes. Do whatever you need to do now to get those creative juices flowing. Remember, donor magnets don't have to be lengthy or complex or time intensive to create. As I've said before, a long and complex donor magnet will likely convert very poorly. You simply need to solve a specific problem with a specific solution for a specific segment of your market. And remember, your donor magnet has to be consumed by the prospect for it to have an impact. So put your creativity hat on and get cracking. I know that you can do this. I have full confidence that you can create the perfect donor magnet. Next up will be the Google Gas fill-up. I'm about to show you how to not only use Google Ads to attract a huge amount of traffic and to engage them in your work, I'm also going to show you how to get as much as $10,000 per month in free advertising from Google each month, every month, for as long as you want it. It's not really that complicated, and you can get it completed and probably be approved in a few days. I know you're going to love this if you've never used it before. But before we do that, I want you to download and complete the Magic Donor Magnet forms. If you haven't done that already, fill them out, file them for future reference. And of course, if you want help, feel free to upload your work to the Donor Finder System community and ask for feedback. I know you'll get great advice and great critiques if you do that. As always, please voice your concerns or comments in the Donor Finder community and let me know what you thought about the Magic Donor Magnet session. I honor you for taking the time to complete this video training and for learning how to grow your nonprofit. I look forward to our next time together. Bye-bye.